Welcome to the TTT News Special. I'm DK Rosta. The Lilly Foundation for Human Development is a non-profit with a mandate to promote and facilitate positive human development through holistic education initiatives. Now, they are currently working on providing support to students in need across Tobago as the break from one academic year to the other draws inexorably to a close. To discuss that and more, we're joined by the Managing Director, Glendora Lashley. How you do, Glendora?
Hi, DK. Thank you for having me. I
It,
am coping well under the circumstances.
it is our supreme pleasure that you're able to make the time to join us. But I want to ask though, what kind of support would the Lilly Foundation normally request for this back to school initiative, and who would you request it from?
Okay, so normally we would request either cash or kind. As you may be familiar, Tobago is more a kind society than cash. We're not that liquid. Our island economy is, very small and still developing. And so we normally ask friends, relatives, supporters to support a student in need. And this will cover basic back to school supplies in terms of school books and those supplies that come on the book list, uniforms, shoes, that kind of thing. Normally, like I said, we tend to ask the people who are closer to us, our usual donors. Sometimes we ask corporate entities as well, but since the inception of this program in 2009, we started it as a more intimate kind of a initiative whereby people who wanted to help, they can get close to the donor, close to the recipient, sorry, in that, let's say, DK, you were interested in sponsoring at least one child. Initially, when we started in 2009, we would ask parents or guardians to bring the children to, if it's the shopping mall or the school supply store and so on, particularly to choose things like a book bag or school shoes, that kind of thing, because many students don't really get the opportunity to actually come to shop for themselves. Sometimes things come home and you just have to deal with that. When you are at-risk child, it is important to present opportunities for socializing and, of course, good socialization. And so we initially thought that would actually help, and it did in fact help a lot of the students. But of course, COVID has changed things around. So now, whereas last year, as a matter of fact, last year we did have COVID as well. So many people, they made donations through the bank, direct deposits. Some people paid at the bookstores and so on. Some people asked to send them, the book list, and they would purchase the books and drop them off at a agreed point, and we will get the books or whatever supplies it is to the student. So generally, there's several ways, that we've reached out. It started initially with trying to get people closer to assisting the students and understanding that, okay, this is where my contribution is going. But of course, COVID has changed up everything. So now it is more online, it's from a distance. At this point, for people who want to make a cash contribution, they can do so through our bank account. We prefer not to receive cash itself, in terms of somebody coming to me and say, here's $100 for this person. We prefer that, it goes through the bank. It makes it easier for accounting and that kind of thing. There are people who may want book lists, like I said, or uniform sizes or that kind of thing. You have the opportunity to really choose how you would like to support a student.
And I like the fact there are a few things about three little keywords that I want to look at a little more in depth. One, the fact that you keep on saying, well, normally or before the pandemic, or what would usually take place, what happened from 2009 moving forward. And it is really underlines the point that there's so much that has changed within the structure, the way that we engage. But even speaking about engagement, though, Glendora, one of the things that you mentioned, starting off on wanting to keep it a little intimate. And I'd ask you to go a little more in depth on that, please, because even the point that you raised that many people aren't able to go out and shop for themselves. I remember one time, if you don't laugh, sometimes you cry up. Someone bought a shoe for me, half size too small it turned out, and they told me to stretch. Sadly, it was a steel tip. I think
Wow.
recently my feet started to recover from that. But the thing is, though, in terms of being able to have that sort of interaction, well, I guess before the pandemic, of people going out, one, shopping, but two, having people seeing the face of the person that they're helping and making that connection, and even the fact that you all stress that no recording is to take place of it.
Yes, well, again, Tobago is an extremely small society. It's a micro society. There's 65,000 of us, give or take, right? In the work that we do, DK, it is important to respect the beneficiaries. A lot of people, I know this is not the trending thing, and a lot of people, like to plasma everything. Some people say that this is how they're going to get additional support and so on. So trying to balance that sort of transparency and accountability to any supporter or donor. We give you the opportunity to, well, we gave you the opportunity to come to the mall, see the student, see the recipient, have a brief conversation with them. Of course, all of this is done, one, with the permission of the parent or guardian, and there must be adult supervision because many of the times the children are under 18, the children, right? The pandemic has changed that. The pandemic has caused us to realize that certain things that we took for granted, we need to embrace them. On the flip side of that, it's the students, the beneficiaries who, like you rightfully said it, there are those of us who we had our foot drawn. They draw one side of your foot and tell you, put this on a cardboard or a piece of paper or something, and somebody left and they came back and you had a brand new shoes. I mean, you were happy in those days, but you never really went out. When we interact with our children beneficiaries, we notice that a major part of some of the issues affecting them is that kind of inability to actually go out and see other people, just to socialize like other children, to be able to walk on the mall, get some ice cream, if you can afford more than fast food, to get them something decent from the mall so that they can just get that experience. These are things that we take, or at least we took for granted, because perhaps the pandemic has caused us to understand these little things are part of what actually keeps you thriving and healthy and bubbly, and in good spirits, and it keeps your stress down. I know many of us believe that children don't have any stress. That is not true. If you are an adult out there thinking that a child does not have any stress, maybe because they don't have to work and take care of the bills and so on, they are individuals, they're humans, they have a different experience to us adults, but they do have issues affecting them. And so we tried, based on the number of years prior to that we've had the experience with dealing with children and so on, to really just give them something that they looked forward to. Now, unfortunately, many of the children who are recipients, they're in the program for more than 1 year. We try to work with parents to be able to get them to a point where they can be more self-sufficient. But again, the reality of Tobago's island economy is what it is. Not to get political, but if you're following the bills and those sorts of things, you understand the fight that's happening politically, economically, and so on within the context of Trinidad and Tobago. Because of course, Trinidad isn't necessarily, that much better per se economically overall, but the dynamic is different. And also the cultural nuances are different. So again, in Tobago, it was important to let people see where their contribution was going, because you don't want them to say, well, okay, I submitted $500, I donated $500. I don't even know if the child gets it or not. You know how people are. So there was that opportunity. And for the people who really, really, really wanted to help, they took up on that opportunity. Even last year, like I said, and prior to last year, there are those people who will say, well, listen, I don't have time for that. I see the work that you're doing. We want to help. Even the people who have not seen the work, but they perhaps really wanted to help, for whatever reason, they made a bank donation or so. What we try to do, particularly through teachers, because apart from working with parents, we work as well with some of the teachers in the system. They would recommend students, who were completely missed, who don't have anything, that kind of thing. And so when we work through the teachers, we've had teachers sort of get thank you cards where the children, the students will sign, and we will deliver the thank you cards to the donor, to the particular sponsor. So, just that they understand, well, okay, somebody received what you contributed and they're grateful for it. And we try to make it like that again, to aid with transparency and as well to let people understand that, okay, what you're doing is appreciated. Because many times in our organization, we beg, 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 beg all the time. That's how we survive. We don't necessarily have a government subvention. We don't really apply to the government for anything much. We utilize the regular Tobagonian and Trinidadian, and they have been very, very supportive. And that's why in this particular instance here in 2021, our website says, we know the COVID-19 pandemic has affected all of us. So we're not going to go the usual route of directly calling on the sponsors that we've called on year after year after year. There's some people who, when you call them, they give. It might be the last $5 and they give. We're not going to do that this time. We wanted to open it up. And I must say, DK, thank you, thank you, thank you, because you're giving us the platform to reach many more people in a way that we wouldn't normally have.
No,
And this is where we're
but
kind of
Glendora,
reaching
one
out to
moment, please. You
everybody.
spoke about the website, and we want to speak about that website and other contact information that you have in just a bit, but we do that when we return from the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with the Managing Director of the Lilly Foundation for Human Development, Glendora Lashley. And we were just discussing a lot of the ways that people interact. And you know, sometimes being able to do a report after and said, well, we were able to contribute this to this amount of students and this is what happened. It is well and good. And you also spoke about accountability a few times, Ms. Lashley. But being able to get that specific word, that word from that person, that thank you, that says, okay, well, this is the person who I specifically helped, and you have that connection, it helps things to go a much further way. But even before you comment on that though, what is the website? How do people contact you? How do people engage with you?
Okay, DK, sorry I missed what you said, but I'm going to give you the website and ask you to just repeat the question for me. As a matter of fact, you can just Google the Lilly, Lily, Foundation for Human Development. Once you Google that, you come across our Facebook, our Instagram, our website, everything. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All of the information is there. The website is THELILY Foundation, FOUNDATION.weebly, that's WEEBLY.com. All right. But again, if that's too much, just Google us. The information will come up. Find us on Facebook or Instagram. We have all of the links to everything on each of our platforms.
And what are some of the other services that you are involved in, some of the other efforts, the other projects, the other activities?
All right, so we just spoke about the COVID-19 pandemic. Most recently, with support from the British High Commission here in Trinidad and Tobago, High Commissioner Harriet Cross and her whole team, we were able to, in Tobago specifically, roll out counseling support. We call it COVID-19 counseling support, right? Of course, funding is not, we don't have a big pool. It has to go around. But through the assistance from the British High Commission in Trinidad and Tobago, we were able to offer 150 counseling/therapy sessions to Tobagonians in the hope that they were able to deal with the stress, the additional stress that COVID-19 has, brought on all of us. We particularly targeted as well those people who go unnoticed: children, teens, preteens, primary school children, single parents, men. Let me tell you, I was so happy when some men and boys, they came out and they accessed this counseling session. We've had people who initially, they expressed an interest and then they say, nah, I feel all they want to mind my business and so on. And so when they thought about it, they thought about traditional counseling, like going to a psychologist, therapist. We think about, you're mad, right? In our society, people say you're mad. But we were able to introduce here in Tobago through this program art therapy. Now we have an art therapist here in Tobago, and she has been in existence, so she's not new to Tobago. But when we engaged her, we said, listen, we want you to come with us and go into the community. So we went into the east of Tobago. We got people from Louisdor, Bellegarde, and other communities to come to a central location in the east of Tobago, where they were able to do art therapy as part of our COVID-19 counseling support. DK, let me tell you, people were blown away simply by that experience. Now, unfortunately, we don't have unlimited funding. And so through the High Commission, the British High Commission in Trinidad and Tobago, we were able to, like I say, offer 150 sessions initially. We're also hoping that we can get more funding for that. This is something that we piloted about 3 or 4 years ago when we asked for support to have young boys go through counseling. It wasn't received well at the time because again, people think, well, okay, counseling, you're mad, some kind of, it's taboo, it's negative and so on. But I'm hoping that based on the experience that the young men and everybody else that went through this program, what they've had, their testimony should hopefully get some other young people, especially the males, to really go into the counseling. And I'm saying the males because we spend a lot of our time, part of our mandate is to combat gender-based abuse and violence in Trinidad and Tobago. And normally, I mean, we've been here with you, DK, before where we spoke about that target on the male back as the perpetrator, and the different reasons for that. And we have developed a program where we're speaking to working with young men and boys with a view to really combating gender-based abuse and violence. But our approach is that we're asking the men and the boys, listen, this is what people are saying. You all are the perpetrators, you're aggressive, you're whatever. How do you feel about this? What kind of assistance do you need and so on? And from that, even from this COVID-19 support, what we were able to come up with, hoping to implement in the future, we want to do an apprenticeship type program, all right? We call it the Lilly Foundation for Human Development Skills Training and Apprenticeship Program. And this is where we hope to be able to have a bespoke experience residential training program focused on skills training, starting off with joinery. All right, we hope to be able to do carpentry after a certain period of time, but for now we're hoping to roll out a 2-year pilot where we will have at least 12 young men, residential and doing joinery full-time during the day. We hope to be able to offer them a stipend because of course you can't necessarily in this day and age ask people to come and do something with their whole day for free when they have to live, they have to exist otherwise. And so we're really hoping to do something like that because what we got from the men is that they want to be respected. They want to have something viable to do. Again, we spoke about the Tobago Island economy. Unfortunately, it is what it is, and we have to work with what we have to be able to get to where we want to go. And so
but in terms of working with what you have, though, Glendora, two things. The fact that you have so many ideas, so many things that you'd like to implement, get off the ground. We have about 1.5 minutes more. How does it feel to be featured in the catalog for services for economic empowerment of women done by Arthur Lockjack, Global School of Business, in addition to the support that you just cited from the British High Commission in Trinidad and Tobago? How does that inspire you to continue to go forward in spite of the adversity, the challenges that you're facing?
Oh, it's very, very inspirational. One of the things we know for a fact is that, like I said, we work with what we have. We have been very, very blessed, very grateful to be able to work with several diplomatic missions, the British High Commission, the Canadian High Commission, and the US Embassy. A lot of the work that we're doing now came from initially funding from the Canadian High Commission. And so we've been really able to use that and make it work. Again, we're grateful for the feature in the Spotlight catalog. That's what you're talking about. There are some other Tobago NGOs in there as well offering services. And we're just happy to be a part of the overall initiative. We understand that we can't do it all. And so we've chosen our select niche and we're gonna work with that and try to get as far as possible.
Thank you very much, Glendora Lashley, Managing Director of the Lilly Foundation for Human Development. And it feels kind of like a 5 loaves and 2 fish kind of story, but we will continue to check in with you as time progresses to see what is happening and to provide that platform from this end. And on behalf of the entire news team, we want to thank you for tuning into the TTT News Special. I'm DK Ronstadt.